game. Tom, Gary, do you want to start?
Robert, commiserations. Where did it go wrong today?
Same like last week, when you receive a goal in the first minute, it affects you quite much mentally and the game plan as well. So it's a different goal, but it's still an early goal that we don't do good enough. Play a good opponent, but I think the first half we tried something different, to play with a 5 and try to make sure we knew that we perhaps should defend some more and do some counter-attacks. But when they did the first goal, they were really good in the first half. We didn't really get close to them, so I think the first half was a mixture of the tactics. Didn't really affect the game when we received the early goal, and then Arsenal is good. Second half, I think it's much better half. I think we dared to play there the first minutes of that game. We showed, okay, we are back in the game. And then just before we're going to go back to the 4-2-3 when they exactly score, when we're going to do that change, it's a little bit tough, because I think we actually had an even game then. The rest of the game, I just want to make sure that we bring something to the forward fans, basically. And I think actually they do. I think the players in the second half show bravery. We try to play, we try to press. So if you move away the result and the bad in that way, I actually think the players did some really good stuff in the second half, which makes me feel like, okay, yeah, we still have it in us. We know that we're going to do it. So it's more like we need to improve a lot, and we need to make sure that we find ways to compete against the top 3, because right now you obviously see that we cannot.
Can you put your finger on why you're conceding goals so early on in games for the Man City as well? Like, is there a reason for that, and what can you do to stop that happening?
I mean, we did it last time. You had a plan for this game, and then they scored anyway in a different way. So it comes down to quality, I guess, because the opponent find ways to score early, and we don't really are that aggressive. And then you work on something that you should be aggressive in the beginning, and we have this kind of stuff, and then they score anyway. So I guess it's a big thing with the mental aspect as well. I think it's self-confidence is a big thing in playing and taking decisions and being really sharp in some duels. And I think when you have big games in a row where you can lose big numbers, it affects your self-confidence. Last season we started with a loss, but we won a few games in a row and had some draw, and then we were quite brave and sharp in the decision making, and now we perhaps struggle just because of the mental aspect as well. So I wouldn't say that we are that bad that we should receive 3-4 goals every game. I think it's a mixture of tough games in a row and mental aspect where you lose your self-confidence and trying to find your way through this tough period.
Thank you, Robert.
Robert, 5 defeats in the last 6 league games. It must be pretty tough for you at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the worst strike I've been with as a coach. So it's tough. I mean, this is what you need to find ways to be a good leader, to motivate the players, to see the good stuff in it, and what we need to improve with the bad stuff as well. But it's also part of the journey. I think it's in one way, okay, this is it. Now we need to find ways to go through this period as well. I think when you looked at the schedule before the season, we knew that we had this top 5 teams in a row and West Ham. We knew that, oh, that's a tough run. And I think the bad thing from the beginning was that we lost Liverpool in the overtime, because then you went into these other 2 games like, okay, we probably need to take some points here, otherwise it's going to be a tough period of time. And to be honest, the gap to the top teams is big, and it's not like we're trying to close it, but they also invest and try to push for their, to take steps as well. So it's tough games, and to make sure we beat this team, we need to have a really good strategy where we stay in the games for a while. So the difference from last season was that they had a few really good chances in the beginning. They hit the post and we did some really good saves, and then we stayed 0-0 in the game and build the momentum with the fans. When you receive a goal after 1 minute, you destroy that momentum that you can build with your fans. So it's a mixture of that and self-confidence, I would say.
Is that your message to the fans at the moment then, time and patience?
I mean, it is actually that, because if you look at second half and how we go back and try to do it, we have some really good patterns, some really good attitude in the team. We obviously don't have everything yet to win the games, and I think it hurts today to not make the fans proud. It hurts to lose for them against Arsenal. We don't want to do that. So for me, it's like that's the worst thing actually, because losing against Arsenal or the top 3 teams, that's actually where we are right now. That if you bet on the games, you probably bet that we're going to lose against the top 3 teams. So that's not normal and something like that. But it's more like this means so much for so many people, and that makes me more frustrated and sad, basically. But time will take us to the next level. Everything we do is according to the plan, and it's not to lose games, but we need to go through tough times to see where we are at, what players are suitable to the way we play, what kind of tactical stuff do we do now, what should we do in the future. So it's a part of it, but it's really tough when it's bad moments, of course, but it's a part of life and it's a part of football.
Robert, lastly, when you conceded the third goal, Beth England came running over to you. What did she say?
There was a tactical thing, but it was actually exactly what we were aiming for with the sub, to go over to 4-2-3-1 and start pressing them higher. So it's a little bit unlucky that you scored the goal when I prepared Olga, but it was actually exactly what I was supposed to do. So we thought the same thing in the head, that we need to press even higher now, but it was tough when they scored a 3-0. But once again, the players were actually really good in second half to try to get back in the game and taking the fight. So I hope the fans saw that and they actually can see that thing in it, because the result normally always take over everything. But there was stuff in the second half that I really liked with the players.
Thank you.
Alex?
Robert, just on Arsenal's second goal, from a Spurs perspective, it seems quite easy as they kind of work their way through. Not very tight marking. Are you maybe at all concerned that the players weren't quite switched on, and maybe that's kind of maybe a more general issue you're defending this season?
I think I'm actually the second goal is on me, because we play a certain style with a low defense today to make sure we can do the counter attacks, and we worked on it in the week. We had a plan for it. I think the first goal affected the way of being aggressive when you're low, so I think that goal is actually connected to the tactics. It's easy to be passive when you are a lot of players there, so the way they play there, we should handle it, but it's a way of the tactics, so that's only because of that, I would say.
And next league match is for another 3 weeks. Are you confident you can kind of turn this around? That Everton match seems quite important now for you this season.
Yeah, I think we knew from the beginning that top 4 teams is bonus if you win, because it's hard to say that we should win them, but we want to compete. The other teams, we need to find good ways to win games. So, and now actually, of course it's important, but it is also like every game is important. Every game against teams under us at the table is very important. But if you find a way to win that game and build the momentum to the next game, then I think we can still make a good season of it. But it's easy to say today, but you know what? We have some good players with good stuff in here, so we just need to make sure we win the right games and we learn from this game, because we receive too many goals. That's really frustrating.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you think you could have done differently today to maybe achieve a win or even a draw in the game?
I reflect a little bit on that I chose to play 5-2-3 and 5-4-1 in defense. I mean, the reason we did that was because of the performance from another game, to try to make sure we find ways to defend together in the beginning and everything. And obviously when you don't succeed, it's why should I blame anyone else than myself that we didn't quite well. So if we would have started with the normal shape and perhaps a little more high press, who knows? Perhaps that goal hadn't come there. But we did that last week, so it's hard to say. But I think that was, if I can do it again, I might think, was it good to go in with 5-4-1? Not, it didn't work this way. So
is there anything you want to take from the game today into your League Cup game against Villa at next weekend?
Second half and how the players acted and how they performed and how they took the fight and how they played was actually good stuff in it. So if you can do that when you're 2-0 down against Arsenal, then you show me that we can absolutely go into that game and play that style and play the style we want to do. And you know what? There's no turning back. We're going to do this our way now, and we're going to keep going. So I think it's more of we're learning where we are, how hard it is, but we should also not go from our identities. We should go into that game with a lot of self-confidence. And it's a cup game, so it's quite good to go into that game with a bravery, because it doesn't affect the table in the league. And then Everton will come after the national team break. So we have time to get better, and we're going to make sure we get better, and speak to us after those games, and then we see where we are in the table, obviously.
Jenny?
Hey Robert, just drawing on what you say about the back 5 then, it felt when you subbed on Olga and switched to a back 4, the momentum really shifted in your favour. In that midfield battle, it seemed as if that's where Arsenal really got you. And just reflecting on that, but also how do you draw on this experience and take that forward? Because it's hard when you lose, but it's also beneficial, because it might be a bit of a moment of how do I take this and learn from it? Yeah,
my whole career I've done mistakes all my life, and I will keep doing mistakes. But the thing is, when you do stuff and you try stuff and you're trying to be brave to find ways, if it's good stuff or bad stuff, you learn from it, and then you use that to take the next step. The tricky part is it also affects the mental aspect and the self-confidence of the player. So even if we do mistakes, we need to find ways to not lose too much and still believe in what we want to do. So it's a mixture of how we went in the second half to use play bravery, to go for it, to take more duels and do it, and to make that work in the beginning of the game. Out or with self-confidence, doesn't really matter. We need to get the players they should just go for it, and no turning back. And I think the games coming up, we're going to work on that to make sure we are not scared of that situation. when we play Everton at home, we shouldn't go into that game and say, oh, we need to win this game, must win this game. We need to go into this way and show the fans that we can play certain football, and then we're going to have an attacking football, and we're going to defend better, and then we're going to win the game. So I think it's more focusing on the performance and how we're going to get better than, we need to win this game. Because you never need to win a game, but we need to please us as fans, we need to play better football, and we need to show more attitude, and that's what we're going to learn from the second half, because then it shows some really good attitude.
Last one, Tom.
Robert, so Hayley Raso returned to the starting lineup today. It felt like in the first half it was kind of her block on Van Domselaar trying to clear the ball that gave you some momentum and probably sparked maybe your best period in the game, certainly in the first half. How important is it to have Raso back in the side and an experienced player who's back in the first team?
I think that's massive for where we are and what we want to do. We kind of want to find these key players that are on that level that can, make us better. I think she's one of those players that are top level in the world. Now she just came back from an injury, and I think she looked strong. She looked sharp, even if in the first half was maybe to get into that game, but I think she was really sharp. Maite is always also like a really good signing we did, and she's soon back again, and that will help us as well. But the main thing is still like we need to take steps with all the players, and all the players need to take a few more percentage of the next step so we can compete against these teams. Because obviously, if you look at their players and what their players they bring on, is starting national team players in the biggest national teams. So it's a big gap with the squad as well.
Thanks, Robert.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Robert.